Shalom. So today we're going to talk about fasting, praying, and meditating, right? But before we get into that, there's one main thing that we need to understand, right? Because there's one thing that always intervene, and it is called desire. Now, there's a desire that comes from the spirit that makes you want to serve the Most High, you want to do His will, and there's a desire that comes from the adversary, which is the mind and the body together, right? And this goes contrary to the spirit. So we're just going to get a little insight from Romans chapter 7 and verse 15. It says, "For that which I do, I allow not, for what I would, that do I not, but what I hate, that do I." Now, how many of us do things and we regret it, but we keep on doing that thing that we don't want? And the very thing that we want to do is what we are not doing. There's an internal battle taking place, right? For example, how many times you said yes, you're gonna pray and this, or you're gonna pray, and you'll just be there all day not doing anything, but you never actually prayed. There's this battle going on, and we need to understand. We need to separate because these are terms that we use, but we don't really understand the depths of it. Why do we keep on doing the very thing that we don't want? Because the mind, the nature of the mind, is to repeat what it is familiar with. So once it has learned a behavior, then by default it is going to want to repeat it. This is why it sticks to what it is familiar with. So once the baby learns how to climb on the grill, guess what? It's just going to keep repeating. And a lot of us are stuck in that subconscious programming because we never try to break the pattern, break our tendencies. We never tried to separate from it, right? So let's get into the concept of fasting, right? There's a fasting that, denying the flesh, crucifying of the flesh, right? So a lot of us, we fast by just to avoid food for probably a day or whatever time period we choose to fast, right? Now, let's just go to Colossians chapter 2 and verse 11. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, "In whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, in putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, buried with him in baptism, wherein also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God, who hath raised him from the dead." So when you're actually fasting, what you really want to do is crucify your mind and your body, the desires that come with it. So therefore your spirit can transcend. Now a lot of people, when they're fasting, what happens is that if it's gonna be finished at say 6 p.m., they are dying for the time to come, right? So they're still responding to that mind and body. They're still responding to the hunger rather than focusing on the greater good, right? It's about mastering yourself. It's about not having desires and your sensations ruling over you, right? So now you can do what? Be devoted to that of your spirit, regardless of what your mind and body is trying to do in the midst, right? So if you're actually fasting and your only thought is hunger, or when am I going to eat? When will this fast be over? You are not actually fasting, right? So when your spirit is aiming towards something that is higher, then the desires of your body, your flesh, is of less importance because you're living above it, right? Now, the true fasting is when you can have the things in front of you, because most of us really want to escape the world. We cannot, right? Once you're living here, you're going to have all these things in front of you. So it is really about having the desires in front of you and not indulging in the activities. Right now, how many of us have that level of self-control? Hmm? How many times you go to events where you smell the pork, the shrimp, the lobster, they smell so good, and they, it's like it's drawing you closer and closer to it, right? You're moving closer to that smell, right? When you're under that spiritual fast, you are able to be in the presence of all these different manner of transgression, but you're not indulging in the activities, right? So it is going back to mastering yourself. Allow the spirit to consume the flesh, because once it is vice versa, once your flesh start to consume the spirit, then this is what Paul said, what he said in Romans chapter 7 verse 15, right? The very thing that you don't want to do is what you're doing. Hmm? You know that in your spirit it's not right to sleep with that person over there, but guess what? The tendency, the convenience, you cannot live above that, right? So spiritual fast is not going to the mountains and run away from reality, but it is being here, being present, being in oneness with your higher self, with the Most High. So that is actually what the fasting is. Let's go to Matthew chapter 4. I'm going to read verse 4 and 7. It says, "But he answered and said, It is written." That's the key word. It is written. You see? So he doesn't have to be running all over the place. You're using the word of the Most High, right? To not indulge in these activities. So if the scripture says, don't eat pork, shrimp, and lobster, that's it. You go back to the scriptures and you're able to live above it. You don't have to go to the mountains where there are no pork, shrimp, and lobster, right? Verse 7, it says, Jesus said unto him, It is written again. So you see, this is how you resist. This is how you reject your indulgence in these activities. Go back to the scriptures. Meditate on the precepts. It is written. So once you can go to him while you're in the experience, then it's easy for you to conquer. Then it's easy for you to resist the devil. A lot of us perceive resisting the devil as running away from the devil. That's not resistance. That's fear. The Messiah was not running away from the adversary. He was facing them, because the only thing that thoughts cannot take is you actually facing them with the spirit, or facing them with that awareness, facing them with the knowledge of the scriptures, right? Now we're gonna go to praying. Praying is that for most of us is just uttering words, right? But there are specific ways of praying, and preparation and so forth. So it's you're getting into that space with the Most High, right? So you have to gather your thoughts, you have to be properly attired. The reason why I mention this is because a lot of people who I talk with, one of the very things is that they always wait until they're in the shower. Some people doing it in the midst of sex, and all these weird moments that people choose to appear before the Most High, right? But we don't do this with other people. Why do we treat the Most High like, you know right? Now when you're praying, also you want to face the direction that he said, which is towards the east. And I put towards the east for a reason, because sometimes when you put that toward the sun, some people have the concept that you're worshiping the sun. No, we're not worshiping the sun, we're not worshiping the east, right? We're just following our instruction towards the Holy Land, right? So what you're really doing in prayer is you're speaking to that shepherd, you're speaking to the shepherd that can change whatever situation you are in. So it's no different from the priests, but then they had to clean themselves up to go in to speak with the Most High, and he would judge over the matter. So whatever your case is, you bring it to the Most High in prayer, and he will rule over it, because he has the power to change that. So it's more than just uttering words, right? You have to prepare your thoughts and go before him, right? So let's go to Leviticus chapter 16 and verse 4. It says, He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water and so put them on. So you see, you have to clean yourself up to go to the Most High, right? The priest had to do that. Also, this is symbolizing the humility, and this is what a lot of us don't have, right? Now, another part of prayer. Let's go to Genesis 28. It's about the vow that you make, right? That covenant, that agreement. A lot of us are in situations where we say, we go to the Most High and we say, okay, if you do this for me, then it will be easier for me to keep this commandment. But what usually happens is we always fall short of honor, right? So the Most High gave us what we asked for, but we still did not keep our end. We still don't adjust or make changes, right? No, this is verse 20. It says, and Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. A lot of us make this vow. We just never keep our end of the agreement. However, prayer is about making a commitment, entering into a covenant, an agreement with the Most High. But it's also important for us to keep our end of the bargain, right? Now I'm going to read verse 22, because part of prayer is also establishing a relationship with the Most High. The Spirit inside of you is connecting with the Spirit of the Most High. It says, and this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that shalt thou give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. So it's going back into that sacrifice, right? These are sacrifices that we have to make, right? So now we're going to jump over to the aspect of meditation, which is lacking in a lot of the Christian communities and the Hebrew communities, right? We don't really deal with the aspect of meditation, but it's all throughout the scriptures. David always meditated on the precepts of the Most High. Isaac meditated. These people, they all do it. But why is it absent from both the Christian and the Hebrew community? You see, a lot of the people in the Hebrew community, they're really coming from Christianity. So they're just accustomed to, those things from the Christian community, right? Now, meditation. In prayer, you speak to the Most High. In meditation, He speaks back to you, right? So this is where you go to the precepts to get what He says about that situation. So whatever your situation is, you go to the heart of our forefathers in that situation. So it's just like you're gonna deal with marriage. You're gonna go back to Tobit. You're gonna go back to Adam and Eve, right? So you get some principles on marriage. Whatever your situation is, you are under attack from your enemy, which is a brother. You go back to King David. He was under attack by King Saul, right? So the scriptures will speak to you. Good. No, you go in meditation, you go to the experience and wait to see the result. Sometimes you have to wait for the outcome. We're going to go to Genesis 24 and verse 21. I'm not going to go through the whole chapter, just the key point. You would have to read the rest for yourself. Verse 21, it says, and the man wondering at her held his peace to wit whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. So this agreement was that the servant of Abraham should go to find a wife for Isaac, but he told him that okay, the woman that comes out and give the camel water, give him water and so forth, that would be the woman. So when he went to that place, he would have to sit back and watch to see which of the woman would actually do that, and then you can say that that is the woman, right? I'm gonna mention a scene from a movie, Twilight, right? Now, in the movie, there was a scene where the guy, the vampire, I don't remember his name, he wanted to fight the werewolves so bad, But someone showed up and showed him, give him a visual of what the war would be like, and that he would have died in the end. So that is the point that he changed his decision, right? So oh, sometimes if we know the outcome of the situation, we would change our decisions. So this also helps with what? Our ability to discern. The reason why we don't do good in discerning is because we discern based on mind and body about how we feel, right? But you cannot discern from what you think or feel about something. You have to discern from the outcome, from the consequences to say, okay, if I put this glass here, it might fall off and break, and then it might cut someone. Or I can put this glass here and nothing happens. Knowing the risk in putting the glass there would make you discern from the consequences that it's too much to lose to fall off, break in pieces, and end up cutting someone, right? So you discern from the consequences. So this is where you contemplate on all the consequences and you discern from that point. And that is where meditation is. You have to be able to do it while you're in the experience. Because what happens with the mind and the body in experiences is that it overrides the entire program. So now it's everything revolves around how that person feels, the impulses, the sensations, right? So what if there's a certain situation that makes you angry? What do you have to do in that very experience where you are experiencing the anger? You have to go back to the scripture. This is where the Most High says, okay, a soft answer turneth away wrath. So you know that, okay, for me to put everything at peace right now, I need to answer softly, right? And that would change the entire outcome of whatever that situation is. So this is how you have to deal with your experiences regardless of what mind and body is telling you, right? So meditation is very important, praying is very important, fasting is very important. So we have to do all three together, not just fast and pray, not just pray, not just fasting, but all is necessary, right? And the more we're separating our spirit from our mind and body, is the more that we conquer our desire, is the more that we are mastering ourselves, is the more that we can teach ourselves to abstain, right? Is the less that we run away. We try to run away from the things of the world, but we can face them without desiring to participate in these activities. And that's where you learn to restrain yourself. Shalom.